Good morning, everybody. What a fun morning we have planned. Today is our day to thank Sue Bouchard for all of the wonderful things that she has done for all of us. She thinks she's going to retire.
I am retired.
So you are. Okay, so Sue, you always told me we were going to retire together.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I tried to get you to do it.
Yeah, I know. But anyhow, you always said that Ken was going to give you a kitty. You could have a kitty when you retired. Mm-hmm. Did he give you a kitty?
No. No, I didn't get the kitty, but we have lots of coyotes at my house.
So guess what happened?
What happened to you?
A kitty moved in at my house in Julian.
See, that is a sign. You need to have that.
Is that it?
Yep, you need to have that.
Oh my gosh. Well, you have this wonderful stack of quilts.
This
is unbelievable.
I do have a stack of quilts.
And I'm going to step over here because this is your show, babe.
All right, well, the first thing I'm going to show is a picture of the guest room at our house that I have my quilts stacked. And Eric has it. So those quilts, yes, they're all done. The ones in the very far corner on the left, those are actually antique quilts. But the most important antique quilts are the next picture. And those are my orange ones. Yes. And I have no clue what I'm going to do with all these orange quilts. But yeah, the Quilt Museum in Nebraska, at Lincoln, Nebraska, they just had a huge show on orange quilts, and they didn't even ask me for my orange quilts. I was sad. They probably didn't know about them anyway.
They didn't know.
So what I did was I went through and I brought in some quilts from that, well, these quilts were already out of the stack before you saw them, but I wanted to share them with you. And they're sort of done chronologically, okay? So the first one, you just get rid of this. This is actually the first quilt I ever made. Yeah, I made it when I was trying to figure out, I think I was 12 when I made this quilt. And yeah, I had sewn since I was 4, so the sewing wasn't new to me. But as Dylan will tell you, this was the quilt that my mom used. She didn't want any of the other quilts. It was that quilt.
Was the one.
Yeah. So it had there's rips in it in places, and she wouldn't even let me sew them back up. No, it's my quilt. It's my cozy quilt. So anyway.
That's nice.
There you go. So there's my first quilt. You got to have your first quilt, right?
Everybody has to start somewhere. That's for sure.
So I started working at Quilting Today. I think it was 1992 because I always go based off of when Dylan went to kindergarten.
So how long has it been since we've been together?
Well, 27 years because Dylan was 5 and he's 32. So it's easy to remember.
32.
Yeah. So I had started working and putting samples in other books and testing instructions and all that for quite some time. But then we used to do demo days. Remember the demo days? And the demo day in question that time, we were doing the flying geese. So I thought, I'll put together this quilt and put the flying geese on the outside. So anyway, that's how Bears in the Woods came to be. And it was, it was really fun. And it did quite well, and we won some big award on that one, National Prime Media Award Book of the Year for quilt books.
Yeah,
but the funny thing is, actually the cover was taken up in Montana, in a little cove right by our old house. And I went back to the house to get something. I came back in. By the time I got back there, the photographer and Ken, that's my husband Ken. I think you guys all know him.
Drop the quilt, Ken.
Drop the quilt.
Show your face, Ken.
Yeah. So anyway, up in these corners, they had nailed it into the hunter's cabin with rusty nails. It's that little cabin, you know what it is? So anyway, that's how I know it's that quilt. So anyway, so that was the first big book I worked on. And I think it was with this book, it was the first time that I always like to do things smaller. So I turned all those 12-inch blocks into 6-inch blocks. So that's the first book that appears in. And yes, they take just as long as the big quilts. So.
Yes, that's for sure.
And there's different projects in the book, but I just brought this one because this one seemed to be really popular. It's called Bear Valley. And it just uses the bear paws going around. We taught this all over the place.
We did.
Yeah, that was, I know. So Montana. So Montana.
Bears in the woods.
Yeah.
Oh, and we had that great little
Yeah.
ditty about
Let's go on a
let's
bear.
go bear hunt.
Yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
I remember.
So then this is the next one that I did. It was a few years later, and it's called Northern Star. And this one actually comes in 2 sizes too. It has the same number of blocks, but the sizes of blocks are bigger. So anyway, and this one's actually dedicated to Dylan.
Aww.
Yeah. So whenever we work on books, Eleanor has a plan of what she wants to do, and I kind of don't always follow the plan. I'm sort of like Patty. We're kind of mavericks, and we go, okay, that's a nice quilt, but we're doing it this way. So we had this town square sampler almost all the way done, and the quilt's like 4 times bigger than this one. Well, I didn't want to, what am I going to do with this big old quilt, right? So I made it like this, and I was so excited. I bring it, I go, Eleanor, look what I did. And she goes, you're not showing the quilt. Take the quilt back to the car. So she did not want anyone to see that. I literally had to take the, because she didn't want to rewrite it. You know,
That's it.
So, but now it can come out to play. It's safe, right? Yeah. So I was going through and trying to put these in order, chronological order. So I was on the internet, and when you ask when a book's published, it will tell you all that stuff. Well, that Town Square sampler isn't available anymore, and you can buy it for $121 if you want a copy. Mm-hmm. So if you have a copy and you need some extra Christmas money, there you go. Okay, this is called Garden Lattice. And it was supposed to be like cute little flowers and things like that. Well, I decided I was in the flamingo stage of my life, and it looks pretty Hawaiian. But I like that quilt.
That's
so
good.
You see how there's parrots on this quilt? Yeah. Ken and I are driving down Vista Way, and we see today, and we see a sign. And you know, you see like lost cat, lost dogs. There was a picture of a parrot that said lost bird. Now you're looking around in the sky going, really? Who is going to find this bird? No, anyway, we thought it was funny.
Oh, man.
Okay, this is a book that Eleanor and I worked on together. It's called Underground Railroad. She did all the history that goes to it, and I designed the quilts and the blocks. And this is a little it's all about escaping and coming up north and being freed. So this is supposed to be like a compass, north, south, east, and west. I think this quilt's the only one that has that little feature in it. No,
yeah, I don't remember
you didn't do that.
No.
You didn't do it. So anyway, but that was really fun. And that one won of that big award too.
The favorite memory. Well, Sue does have a video of traveling with me on the road. She's going to show you that. But you know that we have spent so many hours and hours on the road. One year, she counted for me, we slept in 93 strange beds. We sleep around. 93. And it just gets to the place that, you just know where the bathroom is in the night. You just go in and lay down, go to sleep because you're exhausted. Sue has she has a companion pass with me on Southwest Airlines. She pays only $5 to be my companion. Or should I say she was my companion. She was my companion, only $5 for all those flights in the Southwest. So we've had a lot of fun together, and I can't tell you all the things, besides traveling and teaching for Baby Lock. And those were our biggest events, our really big, long weekend events, but also with AccuQuilt. But we've gone to Paducah, done, like a whole week of staying in Paducah and doing 3 stage shows a day, a tent full of 500 people, and just on and on. Teacher training we've done together. Quilt shows, Houston.
Lots of Houston.
Road to California, cruises. We've done a number of cruises. That was fun. Help me, what else have we done?
Let's see, 8 Alaskan cruises.
8 Alaskan.
2 Mississippi.
2 Mississippi, yeah. Oh, and the riverboat, that was
4
really
or 5
fun.
Caribbean. Oh yeah, we went to
Europe at least twice. France and Ireland and I can't remember it all.
It all runs together.
I have to honestly say that I can just tell you my life is a blur. I have to ask Sue to help me remember what we did.
Back to the diary.
It's a good blur.
Okay, so this is Egg Money Quilts. And Eleanor was doing hers all in 1930s reproductions. Very cute because it's doing with egg money is like money you would get from selling your eggs on the farm. Well, I decided not to do that. So I did this red. And my mom always told me that you can't mix red and pink. There you go.
That's right.
Yeah. But this one actually hung in the Paducah show one year.
Yeah, there's another thread over there too.
There's threads everywhere.
There's a big black one.
Right in the bottom.
Yeah, see, we're all looking at it, so pick it off.
Sticks out like a sore thumb.
Okay, Ken. You have to get that thread.
Down here.
Yes,
Yeah.
better. You should show the back. Sue's backs are just as interesting as her fronts. Isn't that cute?
Yeah, I used to really do that. I don't do that as much anymore because I still want the fabric for the fronts, you know.
That's a good point.
So this is from Quilts of the Season. It's called American Beauty. And I ran into, I should have picked these off before I folded them or did them.
That's really pretty.
I just really like this quilt. It was kind of out for Christmas. Yeah.
You know, we just recently showed American Beauty on one of the block parties.
Well,
And we got a lot of calls on it.
Oh, good.
Very pretty.
Okay, this is another one that I was not allowed to bring into Quilt in a Day. This is called Quick Trip Quilts. And it started out called Candy Cane Lane, I think, and it was just 1/4 of the quilt. And then we decided to put 4 together. Teresa and I were messing around, like, oh, let's make a big quilt and make it all symmetrical. Well, I thought, well, instead of using 2.5-inch strips, just use 1.5-inch strips. I was all excited, and she goes, nope, out to the car. So back it went again. But it hung in our house for a long time. I got a lot of enjoyment out of it. So this is Day and Night. I don't know if you have made this quilt, but it's really easy to make because it's all from strips, and you put a template on it. It's really quite fun. And you make the main block, which is this, and then there's 2 additional blocks from the leftovers that you make, and this is one of them. And I've, of course, put mine with this, so this didn't get in the book because it didn't follow the rules again. We didn't want to write those. That's up, yeah. That should always, I tried to keep that up. And this is Quilts from Elle's Attic. And this is, it was a quilt that Eleanor had in her office for a long time of this block. And we had a name on it. We called them to give them back their quilt. We never did find out.
It was the antique quilt.
Yeah, and you still have it, right?
I still have
Yeah,
it.
because we don't know what it was. But I like the back of this as much as the front because
That looks really cool.
I did a big old, that was my leftover pieces trying to figure it out.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
I know, it's a big old basket. Yeah, that's a primitive gatherings. And then this is quilt blocks on American Barns. And we first started researching this quilt. We were in New York, and there was like where she had learned about them, these blocks. And then we go, oh, look there's a trail here. So we had a late flight, so off we go to go look at these quilt blocks. We go to the first place, nobody was there, but then the ladies are on the phone. And by the time we got to the second barn with the quilt block, there was like all these cars following us. So it was really funny. He's like, Eleanor Burns is here, Eleanor Burns is here. It's kind of funny. But I really like this quilt a lot because when I was little, I would go back to my mom's parents' farm in Iowa, and she always had an owl in there. And then there's 4 generations of this quilt of my mom and my dad. So you can see like here's my dad's family and my dad's grandparents, and then here's my grandmother with my dad, and then my mom, and then my mom's family. And my grandfather Scott Watts had horses and cattle and stuff. So, and then I did like wait, I'm not quite done. So this star right here, both of my great-grandparents fought in World War I, and so that's for them. And then this is the farmer's daughter, and so since there's many farmers' daughters in that family, and then they grew corn and beans, and so Here's the corn. Oh, corn and beans is over there. Yeah. So anyway, oh no, here's corn and beans down there. So anyway, it has a lot of meaning to that. And I used to take it down and show it to my dad when he was in the home, and he would just kind of pet it. It's really sweet.
That is just beautiful.
Yeah.
The meaning.
Yeah, I like quilts that really have a story. Yeah. As Jill and I call it, goes in our permanent collection.
Permanent collection.
Does that one hang in the house now?
look at the
No, the
back
one
on
that's
this
actually
one.
hanging in the house now with pictures on it is the one I did for my parents' 50th wedding anniversary that has my mom and dad and my brothers and all the grandkids. Well, Dylan being that age. So anyway, this radiant star, we were testing the instructions, and it wasn't written yet that you couldn't use plaid or stripes. So I obviously, I kind of go, oh, well, I didn't do that one. But I really like the way it turned out. And I think the stripes and the plaids worked just fine in this quilt.
Yeah, they
Although,
do work
don't
fine.
read the fabric selection paragraph. But
Do your own thing.
do your own thing.
Oh, wait, show the back. It's great.
Yeah, you had little pieces left over of the. And then the label is kind of fun. I had like a half a star left for a label. But it's got a label. This is
Got a
good.
label.
Okay, so the next things we're going to go away from the books for a little bit. So I'm just going to talk about it for a second. Yeah. So when I first started quilting again, and I was recently married to Ken, I started doing really little quilts because I really wasn't confident about going down to the store and spending all this money on fabric. And I would wait till House of Fabrics had on sales, and I'd go buy my little 1/8 yards. And so I would make little quilts. And I would cut them out in the evening, and then Ken would go to work. And when he's gone, before Dylan and I went to the beach, because we went to the beach every day, I would sew on my little quilts. So that's where all these little ones came from. So we're just going to start. And I think I'm just going to pass them around if you want.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so they're just little I actually hand quilted this, if you can believe. That's like crazy.
Oh man.
So,
Oh wait, slow down.
What are the sizes?
they vary, but I'm going to really get into size in just a sec.
Okay, so watch, because it's going too fast through the video.
Oh, okay. We have to slow down, Jill.
You have to slow down.
I can't hold all three at once, but here.
Do an Eleanor.
Yeah. She can do her Eleanor. Well, we're going to get into that in a little bit.
Oh great.
Susie, you forgot to press those two.
I know. So, it's a joke.
It's a joke.
So anyway, so people always ask about miniature quilts, what makes the quilt miniature? And that's Sadie making cute noises. So if you make a 12-inch block, a true miniature of that block will be a 1-inch block. And that's true like if you did like doll houses, any of that, those kind of people that are into that kind of thing. Here is like just a basic 9-patch quilt. Okay, full size. And if I was to miniaturize that exact same quilt, it would look like this. Isn't that crazy?
That is fun in those classes too.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to teach a lot of these classes. And I keep this wonder clip to the quilt because I'm scared I'm going to lose it. And I don't want to have to redo it. Yeah. Ooh. Oh, yeah, that's good. Okay, and here's a miniature kaleidoscope. My mom had brought me back a little Lloyd's Liberty fabric down here, and so I wanted to use that up. That was not a quilt in a day, I'll tell you that much. So back in 2009, we were working on the jewel box quilt, and Eleanor's sister Kathy was here, and they wanted to go scuba diving over in Catalina. And so she hands me this bundle of fabric from Benartex and said, Sue, this needs to be done by Monday because the cover was being shot. So off she goes to Catalina, and I made the cover quilt, and you can look at the cover quilt. But I had some fabric left over, so I thought, oh, great. I'll make this little cut. It's just like a little small sample, same fabrics. And then I got done with that, and I go, oh, I still have some fabric left. No. So then I made that quilt.
Oh my gosh, it's precious.
I know, isn't that fun? And then I still had some fabric left.
No. Oh.
So there you go. And then I ran out of fabric.
Good.
What size of pieces in that one there?
In the little one,
Back.
they're 1/4 inch finished. Yeah, 1/4-inch finished squares and 1/2-inch finished half square triangles.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, this is just a little,
That's been a long
little
time.
star with a little border on it. I love that ribbon border.
We just did that recently, too.
Uh-huh.
Not that size.
No, it's done. And here's like a little maple leaves. I love the autumn leaves. And there's some things you can do when you do miniature quilts. Like I didn't want to piece that stem in there, so I just embroidered it on. You can
That's
get
a
it. You
good
can get away
idea.
around these things.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. And this is probably my most insane. This is a miniature of Storm at Sea. That's, I don't know what I was thinking. Yeah.
You weren't, yeah.
I think I did that right after you went to college. And I'm going, it's still an okay up in college. Okay, and here's a little double pinwheel. Yeah. And you were just talking about that
Well, it
pattern.
doesn't take so much room to store them, at least.
No. No. And here's a little card tricks. I love card tricks. I know, it's cute. You have to be careful when you make miniature quilts, though. You have to use fabric that looks really solid from a distance. You can't use like a really busy fabric or it's not going to work at all. And there's Kylies Kite. Little Kylies.
Aw.
And then little, yeah, there's a little Kylies, big Kylies on the back.
For insomnia days?
Yeah. Hi, guys. Okay, so this one has a little story. There used to be a magazine out called Miniature Quilts, and I would get it every month, and I would make every single quilt in this little miniature quilt back thing. So I decided that I was going to enter a quilt into their contest. You know, I didn't really know too much at the time, and I thought, okay, I really want to do this Drunkard's Path. Well, it was a time around Halloween, and when you go, I think it was Cloth World by then, when you go to the fabric store, they had like green fabric with white polka dots, and then they had white fabric with green polka dots. And I got this bright idea that I would just cut them in just a certain way that like, here's my green fabric with my white pocket, and then this, it's not, there's no piecing in that arc. So yeah, I thought it was really clever. And so then I thought, well, I have to make it look pieced. So then I hand quilted around there, and I won the grand prize. For it, I cheated and I won. I know. So we had we have a pattern called Autumn Leaves. And in the pattern, you actually make 4 blocks at a time. And I loved it. And I was going through this kind of batik stage, and I love the autumn colors. So again, I had to say, okay, well, I'll make the proper size 10-inch blocks, but then I had to make the 5-inch blocks. So this one, they almost got put to the car, but then she decided it was okay. But yeah, I really, really like that quilt a lot. And I've actually...
Her stamp of approval's on the back.
Yeah. So when I had my hysterectomy, 2008 or whatever, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do a lot of cutting and all that kind of stuff. So I'm still talking about the autumn leaves. So, but you're good. So what I did was, I knew that Ken he'd go to work, and I knew he would be stopping in, you know, maybe morning time, maybe lunchtime, to check to make sure that I was on the couch. And so, but I had these little bags. So where my sewing machine was at that house is this little like alcove that I could see the driveway. So I would see his work car pull into the driveway, and I would just like, out of there, on the couch. Oh, hi, Ken. But I think he caught on. But anyway, that's like a king size of that quilt. If I could make my own food, he might catch on, right? I still had to play that I was sick. So.
If you were cooking, you'd have to stand up. Where you're sewing, you sit down.
That's right. So anyway, that was pretty funny. Okay, so here's the double wedding ring. And again, typically we don't use this color as a background. You know, we'd be more promoting this kind of salmon color in the arcs. But I was starting to experiment more with introducing colors in different unexpected places in your quilt. And I just really like it. It actually made the cover. So you must really like this one.
I must have. I let it stay.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun. I like that one. And the next one, I saw Kylie come in. Hi, Kylie. So there's a pattern called Kylies Kite, and I named this one Kylie Grows Up because I had this stack of fabrics. And when you make this patch right here, there's fabric that you cut off, and I just repurposed that into the border to try and do it. And again, I did a little bit different style of fabric, a different color background choice that you typically wouldn't see. Then this is all the fabric that I had left out of the packet on the back. But I love these fabrics. They're nice and cheery. Kind of the leftover. Yeah. One of the next patterns we worked on is called Color Wheel. And in the color wheel that Eleanor was doing, she had like little, and Patty was doing. Patty did like different sizes of stripes. And I said, I don't want a background in between these columns. I go, I want to try it without anything at all. And I just think it just flows. And it really is the same print, but just different colors of the same print from Benartex.
Oh, in the back. Woo!
In the back. Yeah. We could have sold a lot of those fabrics too. Okay, the next one is Teresa and Gail's pattern. And I had to put it in there. And the thing that I did on this one was that they started with a log cabin. These are log cabin blocks. And I go, birdhouses don't have squares for the birds to get in and out of. So I put the little circles on. So that was my little rebel thing. And I think I ran out. I think there's really more to that quilt than what I think. There's more geese or something.
There's geese
yeah,
on the
but
outside.
I didn't have that.
At least you're admitting you're a rebel.
I am. I am.
Down for this part? You did this by yourself?
Yeah, no, Ken can help me. You can sit down if you want. Okay, so that's it for the quilts for a while. But I thought that I couldn't have this program without doing the demise of Sunbonnet Sue, which I know some of you have seen before, but it's always a little bit different. And years ago, Eleanor used to have Christmas parties at her house, and she loved the staff to do entertainment. So she would sit at the staff meetings and go, okay, now Christmas party's coming up. What are you guys going to do? And the first couple of years that I worked here, they were pretty involved. But then it was starting to get to the point everyone's just looking at her like, what? We're not doing entertainment. So then she upped the ante, and she said that, okay, I'm going to give you a prize of $100 if you win this contest. Do you remember all this?
Yeah.
So anyway.
Sort of.
So Dylan was looking for money too. So I got Dylan involved in this project, and we decided we're going to do it together. And then at the Christmas party, we would present our little demise. And so that's half the story. The other half of the story is, I don't know, it's because my name is Sue, but I do not like Sunbonnet Sues. I don't like the pattern. I just think they're silly. So, I mean, people will come and show me, look at this great quilt I made for my granddaughter. It's like all these Sunbonnet Sues. I go, oh, that's so nice. Or as Jill would say, that's so precious. Okay, so I'll tell you a little story about it, and then Ken's going to hold them up. So it all starts out in the fall, and Sunbonnet Sue is going down to the bus stop to catch the bus for the first day of school, where she gets to the bus stop, and she goes, nope, I'm not getting on that bus. So here she is running away from the bus, and off she goes. Okay, so she decides she's going to go see Mount St. Helen. And Mount St. Helen was right after the time that it was erupting. And you remember how all those really silly people were going up to the edge and looking over the edge and going, oh, is it going to happen? So here it is. She has to be one of these people. So she goes up there, and sure enough, it erupts again. And here she is in the air over Mount St. Helens. So there she is. Well, she ends up in Alaska. And she travels a lot. While she was in Alaska, she decides to go see all the salmon, because the salmon were running. They're all going up and down the streams. They were having a great time. And so she's down there looking at them, and the eagles are flying overhead. And the eagles go, what is down there? And so this one eagle came down and picked her up. This is one of yours. So there she is. But then the eagle said, oh, I don't want this either. So anyway, she gets dropped, and she gets in the airstream. And by the time she gets in the airstream and gets dropped down, she's now in Wyoming, and they're doing a cowboy and Indian reenactment. And the Indians started chasing her. then she runs all the way through Montana, all the way across, and she ends up in Chicago. Well, she was looking in Chicago, and she's going down like Michigan Avenue and all the pretty stores, you know, and the Wrigley Building. See, I know all these places because we have been all these places.
We have.
So anyway, she's going around, and it gets kind of dusk, and then she's kind of like in the bad part of like south side of Chicago, and unfortunately she gets mugged.
But didn't he had
Yeah.
something to do with that.
Dylan had something to do with that.
Dylan did. Dylan did it.
Yeah, but it's only a surface wound. It is not bad. It is not bad. And I was doing this show in Chicago, and I was just getting ready to say that. I go, oh my God, I'm in South Chicago. I cannot say this. What am I going to do? So I had to like move her someplace, whatever. So anyway, by this time she's had enough of the northern states, and she heard that if you go to the South is really a nice place. The people are friendly. You'll have a good time. So she gets down to New Orleans, and she decided that she wanted to get some frog legs because she heard that frog legs taste just like chicken legs, right? So she goes into this restaurant, orders them, comes, this big dome comes, opens up the dome, the frog jumps out, and this is what happens. The frog eats her. So there you go. Yeah, that's her clothes over there. And that was in an old coloring book that Dylan had, was that frog. That's where that came from. So then she's decided to go out to Florida. But she's going to Florida, she's going across Georgia, and Georgia has a ton of snakes. I don't know if you've ever visited, but my stepson lived in Tipton, Georgia for a while, and there was tons of snakes. So anyway, she's going across, and all of a sudden the snake finds her and eats her. And there you go. You guys have seen like the snake after they eat the mouse, right? Yeah, that's one of the more popular ones. I've made that several times. Okay, so then she goes, and she's still going across the Atlantic Ocean, and she gets to the Everglades, and then the alligators start chasing her, and here she's running from the alligators. Yeah, chasing her along. So finally she ends up at the coast, and she sees this big boat, one of those boats that all the men go out and they go fishing. There's a name for that boat, and I can no. What are those big fishing boats? They're like cattle boats or something, I don't know. But there's a bunch of them out there. And so she decides she's going to go fishing, so she's going out there, and these men look at her, what are you doing? So they thought she was a new kind of bait. So, and this is definitely a Dylan one. Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. So then I know, poor Sunbonnet Sue. Well, she gets out of that predicament, and then she's going up to Tennessee, and she starts smelling this really good food, and she's like barbecue, and she goes, oh, I'm so hungry. So she goes in, she starts hearing the banjo music and all of this, and they took a look at her, these hillbillies, and they said, oh, it must be new meat. So here they put her on the spit. And around she goes. I know. Well, they didn't eat her. But she gets out of that, and she decides she really needs to have a good job. She's hungry, she has no money, so she looked in the one ads, and she found out that up in Schenectady, New York, they had, did I say it correctly? Because we've been there. So anyway, so the General Electric Research and Development Department's there, and she walks in and she goes, well, I really need a job. And they go, well, can you make toast? And of course I can make toast. So she thought she was supposed to get in the toaster. Yeah. So anyway, she got a little burned in that job. But then she decided that she was going to serve the country. She really wanted to serve the United States. So she decided to serve the Army. And here she is in her camouflage, holding the flag. Yeah. Yeah, and while she was there, she met some other people, and they all decided they want to learn how to quilt. Okay, so they all practiced their quilting, and they heard about this show in Paducah, Kentucky. So they all got their leave at the same time and went to Paducah, Kentucky. And as they were looking at the quilts, no one told them that they couldn't touch the quilts. So this is what happened to them.
They touched the quilts.
They had to go to jail. Isn't it amazing what you can do with just a little change of fabric? So they served their time, but she couldn't go back into the Army. So she decided she really wanted to go get her faith in order. because she wanted to make sure everything was going to be good after she passed on. So she joined a convent in New Mexico. So there she is in her convent in New Mexico. And it's a really good thing she did, because after she passed on, she became an angel.
Aww.
So there you go. So people know that I do this show, about sunbonnets. So they always think it's really cute to give me all these sunbonnets because my name's Sue. So I have a variety of these. But the funniest thing we ever did, we were in Berlin, Ohio, and we had just done this 4 or 5 day show in the heart of Amish country. They had us sitting up there on a wedding table, one of those. It was the funniest thing, her and I up there. And they wanted to present us each a present. And so they gave her the eagle from Star Spangled Favorites, which is kind of funny since it was my eagle. But this is what they gave me. And I thought Eleanor was going to wet her pants. Because and we're both just going. Alrighty. So there's my sunbonnet story. Dylan and I won $100. Yeah. And I don't know what you got, something. Probably some skateboard thing or something. Okay, so now I just want to show you a few things. My current style that I'm doing. I call it modern traditionalism, because I am basing it a lot on modern blocks and traditional blocks and things, but just putting my own twist and color placement and things like that on it. So flying geese is absolutely my favorite patch of all time. Any of you that have had a class from me know that there is a flying geese patch in that quilt somewhere. You can't do it without that. So here's just the basic flying geese. The colors go up like this, kind of fun. I did have a fun backing I put on it.
That's cool.
Isn't that fun? Yeah, it was just a panel. But now when I do flying geese, I kind of address them in a different way. So this is a pattern that I call guacamole. And I don't know what the guacamole has to do with it. I don't know why. I think I was eating guacamole at the time. But so I'm just kind of changing things around. But I really like that.
That's cool.
And then this is a pattern called Hole in the Wall, which I think is the first modern kind of pattern that Quilt in a Day published. And I actually got this pattern because I had to go get a root canal, and in that dental office in the upholstery was a pattern like that. And then 2 days later I found out they did the wrong two, so I had to go back and get the one next door to it. So I said, well, if I'm getting anything out of this experience, I'm taking that pattern off that couch. So anyway, there's Hole in the Wall. It's made from 13 fat quarters.
Back, yeah.
That back.
You can really see the quilting.
Yeah. I don't know. Amy, did you do that one? Okay, then that's Judy. Then Judy Jackson did that one. And then this one's called the Nile. We've been working on 10,000 pyramids, which is based on an equilateral triangle. But I thought it'd be really fun to just pick 2 colors and just use use of those different colors. Dylan had sent me this. It was from Ireland, about this landscape with all these greens that look like patchwork, and that's what inspired me. I thought, just love it. So that's actually the second one that I did. The first one that I did like that, I was doing a retreat with Kath Evans, and she just loved that quilt, I was binding it, and every night she'd go, oh, I love that. So finally at the end, I go, take the quilt, it's done. So here's a class I did for about 1.5 years called Quilt Tribe. And these are all still based on traditional kind of things, just changing it up a little. I had fallen in love with the fabric line from Cotton and Steel. It was their first year through, and that's what all these fabrics are. And then these blocks, you can either do them, and these are the 6-inch, but you could choose to do 9 or 12. And that was really fun. Yeah, Amy, that's one of yours. And the next one is a pattern called Moon Dance. And again, it's by combining your patches, you get the curved piecing without being curved pieced. And I really like the quilting on this one.
That's gorgeous.
It's done with really thin thread, although it's all done in white thread. Since it's so thin, it doesn't deter when you get into the color of the blocks.
Wow.
So that's the full size.
Look at the back.
Yeah, this is the rest of my fabrics.
Wow. Do you know who quilted that one?
That's a Judy Jackson.
A Judy Jackson.
And that's the full-size one, but this is the little one, the little 6-inch one. Yeah.
Where's the smaller one?
I didn't go smaller on that one. I didn't go. So Eleanor's been working on this new log cabin book, and I was sorting out all my fabrics by color. So I ended up making my log cabin, and then I started cutting, and I realized I didn't cut squares for the corners. I cut rectangles, so I went with it. And there you go. So that's
pretty.
Yes, that's for your log cabin.
Okay. We'll have to borrow it for block
Yeah.
party. That's pretty.
So since I had all those fabrics, I always wanted to make a sewing machine quilt.
Goodness.
And this is a pattern that you can actually get at Quilt in a Day. It's called Stitched. And I kind of want to end my show with this because whatever you're doing, it's always really good to get back to your sewing machine, right? And that's what I'm thoroughly enjoying. And the other message I wanted to leave with you is that you need to keep balance in your life. And that's my last quote.
Oh. That-
You guys have seen those on the side of the road, right? Yeah. Dylan's a huge fan of making those rocks. So that's to remind you to have balance.
That's cool.
So that's the end of my quilt. So anyway, that's some quilts, but we do have some. Hi, Kylie.
This was 25 years.
Thank you, Kylie.
Come
Should
here,
I
stay
open
here
it
a minute,
first?
sweetie. Come with me. Kylie, come back. She's going to open it. Cool.
I did check your payroll records.
Was it 25? Oh, there you go.
25
I guess since I was living here at the time, I just assumed that since I was doing a bunch of sewing for her and everything. There you go. Is it cool?
Sweetie. Oh, it's in a gold bag.
Gold bag.
This is very funny.
Is it my very own stiletto?
It is.
But it's silver.
That's cool.
special.
And it has my name on it, engraved. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kylie. So I have to tell you about the stiletto. It's probably my favorite tool. And every time I would travel with Sue, I would forget my stiletto. And I would have to borrow Sue's stiletto.
That's right.
And I probably never gave it back. Because when you open my drawers, I must have 20 stilettos.
Yep.
And I asked her, don't you love the stiletto? And she said, I never have one, so I gave it up.
Well, they're all useful. Those and hemostats. I guess there's things for fishing you can do with hemostats, like taking the hooks out. I used to find those in certain fishing boxes. So, yeah. Good. Thank you. Thank you.
That's really cute.
Yeah.
And are you going to do the travel?
Yes. I think the travel's up next, right, Eric? Bloopers.
Bloopers.
Oh, this will entertain you. Some bloopers for you.
はい、エリノは。
タイミングバッチリね。
ありがとう。
いいスカートね。
番組のためにおめかししてきたの。
よく似合ってるわよ。好きのオライオンを紹介するわ。
はい、オライオン。
みんなお腹空いてない？アイスクリームはいかが？
もちろんいただくわ。
The Swiss Christmas at the bear's paw.
They're doing. So this is a program when Eleanor got inducted to the Quilters Hall of Fame in 2012. This is a program, we all were supposed to say something. I thought, well, I'm going to talk about what it's like to travel with Eleanor, since I seem to be an expert on that. So we thought that this was lost, and Eleanor even asked me for it for a couple of weeks ago, and I couldn't find it. And I was looking, and back in my Quilters Hall of Fame, I found this crumpled up old hard copy of this. And then there was this DVD sitting there, and I thought, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is going to be. And I plugged it in yesterday, and it was. So I was really quite excited. So anyway, I did a comparison of traveling with Eleanor as what it would be like to travel with Madonna. Because they're very similar personalities. And during this time, my mom would get like People, Star Magazine, and all of this every week. And it was kind of like one of my requirements as a daughter was to research and study every page of that magazine, because that was what our conversation. If it wasn't about Dylan, it was about Madonna and, you know, who's doing what to who and all that. So anyway, so I had some ammunition. So here we're going to go. So the Madonna world. Okay, so it's the behind-the-scenes story of what it's like to travel with Eleanor Burns. Okay, we usually start early in the morning because we're usually traveling to the East Coast, so we'd have to get up like at 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning. And then when you go travel with Madonna, she used to have this whole entourage, you know, makeup, security. Well, she only had me, so that's me over there on the right. Funny. Yeah. Okay. Okay, and then when Madonna traveled, she probably had like a private Learjet, you know, and all kind of stuff. And so that was her mode of travel. And here was our airline of choice. Because as Eleanor told you before, I was only $5. Yeah. So when they served food for her on Madonna's airplane, of course, they had all these metaphors, you know, many courses. Here was our course. That's when they only used to have peanuts. I don't think they do peanuts anymore because of the allergies. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, oh, yes, the limo come to pick it up. And so when we get to the airport and gather our 4 very large bags and our 2 carry-ons, we go down, and this is where I go to get the car. Not quite the same. Okay, and then she would probably stay in 5-star hotels, totally secured and all of that. And we didn't always get to stay in such nice accommodations. We pretty much stayed at the bottom of the line. But it was fine. If it was really bad, we did move, but it was pretty fine. So, and then, this is where she would go out to eat. It would be a very, very nice restaurant. And the next picture I'm going to show you is actually from our hotel room. It's not even made up. That's our snack food on one little thing, and our microwave and the refrigerator for our takeouts the next day. You kind of get the picture here, right?
Yeah. We called it backpack eating.
Yeah, backpack eating. Okay, and then for dry cleaning and such, well, we didn't have access to dry cleaning and all that. What we did, whoops, I went too far. What we did, we used, it's sticking. I had to get out my old computer to do this. Well, anyway, there's just a picture of the laundromat in the hotel. Okay, and then the picture that I just skipped over was actually Madonna getting all touched up by her makeup artist. And this was actually taken up in Wisconsin, and this is Eleanor using the reflection off the car to do her makeup and lipstick. Yeah. And then I just put some pictures of the fans, because when we get there, they'd be all over the place and dancing. A lot of boas involved. Yes. Baby Lock did boas for, I don't know how many thousands of boas, but we had purple boas for years. And then here's just some more fans and stuff. And this is the old tent that was in Paducah that we used to have like 800 people, 700 or 800 people. It was quite a few people. And then there was one common denominator, and this is where the real comparison between the two happens, and it's their porky points. Yes.
I have to put my shoulders back.
Yeah, it was really funny. And that picture was actually taken out of one of the People magazines. Wow. Like, I gotta use this picture. I'm like, so anyway, and so this is like hundreds of hotel rooms. She told you like one year how many different rooms we spent in. And I have saved all my little card keys. Those are just part of my collection. I have many more now because that was years ago. And then the toiletries. The toiletries, I think, have saved more homeless people in their little bags, you know. They'll get Merritt, who's Mormon, a bunch of them goes home with him, and they get distributed through the Mormon church. His wife's really involved in doing these little bags. And so this time it was only 775,000, but I think it's way over 900,000 at this point that we've traveled together. And this is the secret to her energy, how she keeps going. No. It is either Dove chocolate, and it must be dark. Yeah, of course. Or it must be very strong Starbucks coffee. But eventually that will wear off, and this is what happens. Literally, she will be in the middle of a sentence. I'll look over at her, and that's what she's doing. She's just gone. Yeah. Oh, I've seen her like go to sleep with the coffee and the chocolate. So anyway, so that's my story of traveling with Eleanor.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Sue. Thank you.
And I think we just have just a few more pictures that I asked Eric to put in, because a lot of the books and stuff we worked on together. So these are just from the books.
If you,
There's Sadie.
Oops. Oh, where did Sadie go? She conked out.
Yeah, she's conked out. But anyway, this little silhouette, I love this little silhouette. They gave it to me for Christmas. So, isn't that cute?
That's very cute.
So
I
I'm-
noticed her hair. Her little
Yes,
pigtails.
her pigtails. So I don't know what happened with you. Okay, here we go. This is when we were in France. And we were working on Quick Trip. And that we were just randomly, I think we were in Paducah.
What do you think about the quilt?
Yeah. Here's me in a cowboy hat. We did this, that big yellow rose of Texas kind of hat. We traveled with that quite some time when we would be going through the airport and with the hat, that or the cheese head. We did the cheese
Yes,
head.
we had to get Dylan cheese heads.
We brought Dylan back a cheese bed, but you know when you leave Madison, Wisconsin, and you're going to Chicago on game day between the Bears, and you have a cheese head on, I'm all, you wear it. So anyway, just thank you all for coming. I'm glad you got to see some stuff.
Thank you. Thank you. That was great, Sue. That was great.
One day, Sue told me that we were the little people. Because we wanted to know how Eleanor picked up all that stuff that she threw over her shoulder. And Sue turned to me and she says, and Eleanor says, it's the little people. And Sue and I looked at each other and we realized we were the little people. It was so nice. Thanks for all those
And
wonderful
not just
fun.
in height.
No, not just in height. You had a great perk, though, for a little person, that $5 ticket.
Well, I'm known when I travel with Sue as Mr. Sue Bouchard. But you know the story you saw about the stash? That's true.
I know when that was going, I was watching Dylan he goes, my mom did that.
That's been around.
She
I
has her little studio out in the back.
I think that's
She has
great.
her storage for her quilts, a whole bedroom full. She has 1/3 of a 3-car garage. And who knows whatever else she has, but
Just leave it at that.
that's a true story, just a different guy with her.
You treated her well. Cool. Thank you, Ken.
And I love you.
Yay, Aiko.
Sue, I'm gonna cry.
That's okay. Just blurt it out. Come on, Aiko.
Thank you so much. I came to almost all of your classes long
She did?
time ago.
I
with my
appreciate
Bay
that.
accent, you put up with me and helped me. And thank you so much for everything.
You're welcome.
I'll miss you.
When I first started working at the store, I did not know who Eleanor Burns was. It was just the quilt shop that Annie said I needed to go work at. And so we used to do on repeats, play videos of this woman teaching this song. Who is that woman? And so anyway, but that would go on, and then she wasn't here, and then we were up working on the house in Montana. We didn't skip. So it wasn't like till 4 months later that she came through and I heard it was a live voice. And finally I figured out who Eleanor Burns was. I'd seen her picture and her name enough times that I said, hi, I'm Sue and I work for you. And I think within a month I was manager of the store. So